Welcome to There She Is, the podcast by Women's Sport and Recreation Tasmania. This is a space for celebrating women in sport, the athletes, coaches, administrators, volunteers, and leaders who shape our sporting communities. We talk pathways, visibility, lived experience, and what works for women in sport right here in Tasmania and beyond, because representation matters and every story deserves to be seen. Hey everybody, it's Philippa here from Women's Sport and Recreation Tasmania, and I'm so excited today to be joined by Maddi Brooks, who is an incredible Tasmanian hockey player, who's joining us from Perth today because she's doing amazing things in the hockey space, competing for our country, which is incredible. So how are you this morning, Maddi?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No worries. I know you've come off a massive training session this morning, but you obviously come from a really big hockey family and hockey background. Can you tell us a little bit more about what it was growing up in your household in terms of sport and specifically hockey?
Yeah, for sure. So I suppose growing up, hockey was kind of the sport that we all played. My parents were both involved, and I have an older brother and a twin sister. So we were always around at the hockey centre growing up, and we kind of were always going to play the sport. So yeah, I played for my club team OHA back home, and that's kind of the club that I first got involved in, and then also played for my school team as well. So mum was the coach of all my teams growing up, and my dad was the coach of my brother's team, so it was kind of a bit of a family affair. We were always at the hockey, doing lots of trainings and things. But yeah, I also played lots of other sports as well. Growing up, hockey wasn't the only one, so it's kind of just a very active kid and wanted to get involved in as much as I could growing up.
What sort of other sports did you do?
I played cricket. That was a big one that I also kind of tried to balance with hockey, which I played until I was 17. And the other sports that I played when I was a bit younger were soccer, tennis, athletics, basketball, swimming. Yeah, kind of tried out everything. Hockey and cricket were the two that I really stuck to. Unfortunately, I had to give cricket the flick as hockey kind of progressed a bit further. But yeah, still love cricket, and they were the two that I really enjoyed.
That's amazing. You got to play both of them for so long, though. Like having such a great base in a variety of sports would give you so many skills that transfer in your other sports. Was there a moment when you realized like hockey was the thing or a little bit more than a hobby, or what made you choose between cricket and hockey?
Yeah, it was pretty challenging. Going through high school particularly, I was training pretty much every day of the week. I'd be going straight from school, straight to cricket training and then to hockey training. So it was pretty hard to navigate and pretty hard to get the balance right. But there was actually two tournaments that clashed for cricket and hockey. So I had cricket nationals I think it was under 18 nationals, and then there was a hockey tournament and under 21s Australian squad. So I picked the hockey tournament, and that was kind of where one thing led to the next for my hockey career. So cricket kind of just started to fade away. But yeah, it's definitely an option potentially to go back to in the future. But yeah, hockey was kind of the one that just kept on rolling. So I stuck with hockey, and yeah, been really fortunate enough with some of the opportunities I've been given.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what was it like having your mum as a coach? What was the dynamic like between the two of you in your team?
Yeah, I really liked it. I suppose I didn't really know much else. I also played with my twin sister for all my junior teams. So I think just having that family bond, I think you push each other a lot more. Me and my sister were so competitive. So yeah, we're kind of just like working on things and trying to push each other to be better. And having mum as a coach, I think definitely helped that too, just to drive that intensity. But yeah, she was probably hard on us. It's not like she went easy on us. So yeah, it was really good to have her, and her knowledge, I suppose, is what's made me be the player I am today, and just continue to develop my skills under her guidance was, yeah, pretty cool.
Lovely. And obviously that sibling rivalry probably played a bit of a key in developing you and egging each other along. You've been really close with your mum being your coach, and now you're over in Perth. What's that transition been like from moving away from family to pursue this further?
Yeah, I suppose growing up, you always dream to want to represent the Hockeyroos, the Australian hockey team. So growing up, that was always kind of my dreams. And you know that the Australian team's based in Perth. So I suppose you kind of just have to plan for the future. And if you do want to pursue it at that level, then you know that you have to move away at some point. I probably had to move away a bit earlier than I probably expected. I probably had a pretty quick transition straight from the under-21s Aussie team pretty much straight into the national team. So I feel like for other people, they probably have a few years where they kind of plan it all out and can transition over a bit easier. But for me, it was kind of straight into it. I just pretty much got named in the squad and then had to move straight away. So didn't really know anyone in Perth. Only really knew the hockey people, but I was fortunate enough to live with a host family. So a host family actually supported me, which was set up through Hockey Australia. I could kind of ease into that Perth lifestyle a bit easier, at least having like a family to go back to after every training and things, which made it a lot easier rather than, I suppose, living by myself. But yeah, I definitely think it was a challenge moving away from all my friends and family in Tassie. But yeah, it's obviously for a specific opportunity, and yeah, I was happy to take on that challenge.
Yeah, that must be really comforting having like another family to belong to really quickly. Is there anything else that kind of made the transition a bit easier for you?
I suppose I also study. So I study business sports management. So it was kind of right out of after year 12. So I kind of already planned to do an online degree just to have that flexibility in terms of not knowing what the future kind of held, whether I had to move over at some point or not. So I think that made it a lot easier. I know a lot of the other girls were already started degrees that were in person in their home states. So when they get picked, it makes it pretty hard to have to transition unis and things. So making sure that I was already set up to have that online degree and the flexibility, I think that also really helped me when I got to Perth, and it meant that I was like filling in time throughout the day to do my uni and things. I wasn't bored doing nothing. So yeah, that really helped. And I also got a few little part-time jobs and things around the place. So that definitely helped my transition as well, just making sure that I'm getting networks outside of hockey.
Yeah. And that sounds like a bit of a juggle. What does a day look like in terms of training and studying and work, or probably more so a week? Because you've already done like a 3-hour session this morning, right?
Yeah, yeah, it depends on the day, I suppose, but we train usually on the turf 3 or 4 times a week and then have 2 gym sessions, and then also have a club game usually on the weekend, which starts in a few weeks. But then I'm also this year doing a bit more speed work, so I'll do an additional 1 or 2 sessions for that a week. And then I'm just started a new job actually at Basketball WA, so I'm an operations assistant there. So I'm working part-time, so that's 3 days a week. And then I also have another job online, which is through a sports marketing company. So I just kind of fill that in the gaps, and then also study online. So I kind of don't have too much spare time, but yeah, I do find time to have a bit of downtime, and the Perth beaches are so nice, so try to head out there as well when I can. But yeah, I'm pretty busy, but I like it that way.
Wow, you really do have sport just running through every avenue of your life, which I love. Now, you did mention to me earlier that last year you got dropped from the team completely. You've had this amazing success, but it hasn't been without its hiccups. So, how did you deal with that emotionally, and what did you do to process being dropped?
Yeah, it was pretty tough. I was fortunate enough to go to the Olympics in 2024 as a travelling reserve, which I definitely didn't expect that opportunity. And then heading into the 2025 year in the Hockey Roos program, I was selected in the first round of Pro League games, which is our major tournament. And then after that, I wasn't selected for our European tour, and other girls that weren't in the squad were selected over me. So I was fortunate enough that I was still in the under 21s set up. I'm just age based that I could still go away on their tours. So I didn't miss out too much, but I obviously knew that it was going to be pretty tough heading into 2026 in terms of the squad selection, as we only have 1 year contracts. So each year they re-pick a new squad, and usually there's a fair bit of movement each year. So I didn't really know where I was going to stand, as obviously I hadn't been picked earlier in the year, which was pretty tough going from, I suppose, the highest I could get to was the Olympics and then going to that. So yeah, I knew that I had to perform really well in our Hockey One tournament, which is our national state-based tournament where I play for Tassie. And then I also had the Junior World Cup in December last year. So that was another big tournament for me. Yeah, unfortunately, there was a new coach appointed, and yeah, change in setup and things. So was unfortunately on the back end of not getting selected. But yeah, I suppose emotionally it's pretty tough, but you can't control those things. Selection and things are out of your control. So for me, I'm just kind of focusing on the next 12 months and improving both as a player but also as a person, and setting myself up for the future outside of hockey as well.
Sport has a lot of massive highs followed by lots of lows. What do you do like mentally to get through those lows even when it's just a little smaller by comparison?
Yeah, I think it's just taking time for yourself and doing what you enjoy. For me, I'm pretty fortunate enough to have a pretty close family and friends. So spending time with them is definitely a big one for me. And then also in Perth, going to the beaches and things just to clear your mind. I also love running and the outdoors. So just do that to kind of clear my mind. But yeah, I feel like you don't want to get too absorbed in the hockey thing, like just the hockey in general, as it can be pretty exhausting. So making time for myself is definitely a big one. But yeah, I suppose I can get through it with the support of my friends and family. That's definitely the biggest one for me.
And so, tell us a bit more about the Olympics and what was sort of going through your mind, like expecting to arrive as a reserve and then getting to play, getting a goal. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal, obviously. I definitely didn't expect to be in the position. We had a tour just before the Olympics where I was over there. We were in England and I didn't actually get to play as they pretty much were focusing on just the Olympic team. So I had no expectations. I was also the youngest in the squad at the time. So generally had no expectations and then kind of just ruled myself out already. And then when the email came out that said I was a reserve, I was definitely very surprised, but obviously very happy for the opportunity. So heading over, I didn't really have any expectations. I was kind of just happy to be there and happy to have the experience. And then I suppose there was a few injuries in the lead up to the tournament while we were over in Paris. So I kind of knew that potentially there might be an opportunity to play, but obviously just kept training hard and making sure that I wasn't getting too far ahead of myself. But yeah, the coach gave me a tap on the shoulder the day before the first game and said, "You'll be playing the first game." So yeah, that was pretty crazy. And yeah, definitely a very important, I suppose, memory in that Olympic campaign. But yeah, the Olympics was just the next level. Like I suppose you always dream about it, but you never really think it's going to happen. So for me, I was just super excited to be there and amongst the Olympic village and everything, seeing some of your idols roll around in the dining hall and things is pretty cool. So yeah, I was definitely very excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, so cool. And then what about when you scored the goal? That must have been an amazing feeling too.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose in hockey, it's usually team goals, but you're always happy to be on the end of one. But yeah, I suppose a lot of our goals at the Olympics were lots of good team plays. Yeah, I was happy to put one in, but yeah, I suppose it was all the lead up to that goal that made it happen. But yeah, it was pretty cool experience to get one in. Yeah.
Imagine. And what do you think you learnt the most from your whole Olympic experience?
I suppose probably just taking the opportunity when it comes. You never really know what's going to happen, especially in high performance sport with injuries and setbacks and things. So just taking every opportunity and taking the moment in. It was just super exciting for me to even be at the Olympics, let alone getting an opportunity to play. So I was just taking in every single moment and trying to learn as much as I could, especially from some of the senior players who we knew were about to retire, trying to learn as much as I could, to then, yeah, keep developing myself as a player and also as a person.
And so, do you have any long-term goals at the moment? I know you spoke about being on a one-year contract. How do you sort of map out having, one-year goals and things beyond that?
Yeah, I suppose the main goal is just to get back into the squad for next year. So I've been training over here with the Western Australia Institute of Sport, as I can't train with the national team at the moment. Been training with them, and it's been a great environment to be a part of. So that's probably the main goal. And then I suppose a bit more longer term would definitely be the next Olympics as well. But outside of hockey, I suppose it's also just setting myself up with a good full-time job, hopefully once I finish my degree at the end of the year. So that's probably where I'm aiming to do next year. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, you're right on track with your studies. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it should be good to get it done.
Yeah, well done. And do you have any advice that you'd give to young girls coming through sport?
Yeah, I think it's just important to give everything a go. For me, hockey wasn't the only sport I played, and I think it's just so important to play lots of different sports and don't just corner yourself into one sport. I think you gain so many skills and life lessons from playing multiple different sports, and I think that's what's made me a better athlete is just having that experience in different sports. And I think just giving everything a crack and wanting to learn. Growing up, I probably just turned up to trainings and was just enjoying it, whereas I feel like these days you want to get the most out of every training. So making sure you come with a clear mindset and wanting to work on a specific thing, whether you write it down before or tell someone else at your training or your coach. Just making sure that you have a really clear framework for what you're trying to get out of each session, I think is really important so that you can continue to improve every single training.
Yeah, love that. Did you ever find, were you sort of pressured at any point where you had to pick one sport earlier than you wanted to, or how did you navigate that and manage to juggle both for so long?
Yeah, I think I kind of just wanted to keep playing both because I loved both so much, but I think it just got to a point where tournaments kept clashing and it kept meaning that I had to kind of let one coach know that I won't be there and then the next tournament would clash and I'd be like, "Oh, sorry, not going to this tournament again." So, I think once the tournament started clashing too much, it just meant that it was a bit too hard to balance. Hockey is you probably think it's a winter sport, but it's actually pretty much a 12-month sport. There's always
So
tournaments
many are now.
in January and December, so you think that it's in winter, but it's usually not. So, yeah, I think it was just important, to once there was heaps of clashes that I just kind of focused on one and made sure that I really kept on trying the one sport and, maybe I might go back to cricket, but we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah. You sound like super goal orientated, whether that's in a training session or long term. Do you have a bit of a process that you personally go through for setting your goals?
Well, I suppose, like, I never really sit down and, I suppose, plan it too thoroughly, but in hockey, we always have, like, an individual performance plan that we map out with our coach. So we have set goals that we'll have probably every 6 months, we'll have a meeting with our coach and sit down and kind of discuss, what we're kind of focusing on. But I suppose for me, it's more just the little short-term goals between every training that I try to focus on whether I'm trying to master a skill or improve a certain aspect that I've got feedback on. I suppose I don't probably just sit down and write it out, but I just kind of think about it in my head. And then I'm very big on fitness, so I definitely have pretty big fitness goals. So making sure that I try and tick those off and doing all I can to try and tick off my goals is definitely important. But suppose it's never like I try to make them pretty smart goals, but I don't make sure that I have to get to them. I just try and have them ticking over in the back of my head to make sure that I am still improving as a player.
That it's obviously working really well for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so proud of what you're doing and representing Tassie in sport and wishing you all the best. Last, just to finish off, what makes you most excited about the future for women and girls in sport?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for having me. But I think just the future that it holds, I think there's just so many more opportunities now. When I was growing up, I remember playing soccer and I was the only girl in our team. And to now have full girls competitions is pretty cool to see. So I think there's just so many opportunities these days. And I think girls sport is just continuing to grow and grow. So I think it's a perfect time to get into sport and get involved because there's so many opportunities out there.
Absolutely. Well, you're such an inspiring role model for all of our young girls here in Tassie. So all the best with your studies and your training program. And hopefully we'll see you again at another Olympics and many achievements in between.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
If this episode resonated with you, if you believe in visibility, representation and strong pathways for women in sport, we invite you to join us. Women's Sport and Recreation Tasmania is a growing community of state sporting bodies, clubs, women and allies working together to make sport more inclusive, connected and supported across our state. By becoming a WSRT member, you're helping amplify women's voices, stories and leadership, both on the field and behind the scenes. Head to wsrt.org.au/membership to learn more about becoming a member. Because when we can see women in sport, we can be them.